Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Business of Learning podcast. My guest here today is So Young, who's the founder of Gnowbe. So Young, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell everyone a little bit more about Gnowbe and what you guys are all about.
Sure. Well, thank you. Gnowbe, which stands for Grow Knowledge into Being. Super nerdy name, I know. It is an AI powered micro learning tool. It's a platform for anyone to design training experiences, deliver it, and track and measure the results.
That's so interesting. We obviously had a brief chat before this, and it sounded very exciting. What made you want to create this thing in the first place?
I needed it. I think some of the biggest pain points, when you think about training, I'm an author. I speak globally. I've trained people on almost every continent, right, on different topics. And one of
Mhm.
the challenges in training and engagement is how do you really engage your audience, and how do you make something effective, and how do
Mm.
you go and track and measure that what you try to train was learned, understood, and most importantly, applied for business impact.
Hmm.
And that is really, really hard to. That's like the holy grail of training, right?
Yeah.
Not just did you have a pulse or did you pass a test, right?
Yeah.
It's really did you apply the skills. And
Hmm.
I found it very challenging to do that at scale. And I wanted to scale myself, and I couldn't find technology and tools to do it.
Mm.
So I created Gnowbe in order to honestly support as a digital companion for when I teach,
Mm.
and also to scale myself when I can't be there.
That's so interesting. And what are some of the businesses or the types of businesses, types of individuals that can leverage this to the utmost capacity?
Anyone who has anything they want to train and engage people on.
Hmm.
Um, I literally just came back from teaching like adults a class. So
Hmm.
they asked me, I was a guest lecturer, and the people in the class were a combination of L&D people in a company, educators, trainers, a special needs psychologist, um, a student. So you had really a mix of people in this class. And it
Hmm.
was a live 90-minute session. I used Nobi as my digital companion for them to participate and engage with me when I taught the
Hmm.
class in person.
Yeah.
Um, and so when you ask me who, anyone who creates a PowerPoint deck is usually, not always, but usually has the objective of, I want to engage with you, I want to teach you something, or I
Hmm.
want to get some feedback from you.
Hmm.
And we use PowerPoint to do that, but it's not an effective tool
Yeah.
because there's no data, there's no engagement, and there's no ability for me to know whether you have read, understood, and obviously done anything with the content I share.
Hmm. And then able to apply it in
So
the end, of course.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the people who would use it would be anyone who uses PowerPoint. The people who benefit a lot are people who have large audiences and
Hmm.
large teams, which can be a company, a school, a government, an NGO, an organization that's really trying to disseminate, train, equip, and engage massive amounts of people will
Hmm.
probably benefit more than if I want to train one person.
Yeah, that's awesome. And what are some of the questions that people usually have when they come across Nobi? You mentioned that it can be like cutting a lot of many months of work down into a few minutes. So, what are some of the concerns? Maybe some of the things that people are thinking about when they first come across it.
Yeah, well, this is the Nobi AI part. Yeah, so this is the Nobi AI part is quite new. We just launched it at
Mm.
Davos. I was just in Switzerland a few weeks ago. We launched Nobi AI, the AI engine, and it was amazing. So the Nobi AI engine is the thing that's taking the instructional design process of how do you
Mm.
make training effective, and it's reducing that process from on average 2 to 6 months to design, structure, plan, and create an effective training experience. And it's
Hmm.
cutting that down into minutes. Okay,
Hmm.
2 to 3 minutes. So it's literally a game changer. Now the common questions people ask is data security.
Hmm.
What happens to my data?
Yeah.
We are very passionate about data security and privacy. So our system does not store any of the data that's used to build to build the AI engine.
Mm.
So you'll upload the content and all the data is highly secure. We're GDPR compliant and all that stuff. So,
Hmm.
so even Swiss companies use us.
Yeah, that's
I
always a
say,
good sign.
yeah,
It's
because
always a
this
good
is way more strict on GDPR than let's say American,
sign.
right? So,
Hmm.
so the data security and privacy of where is my data going is obviously
Hmm.
really really big questions that companies ask, and so it's
Hmm.
highly secure. We don't store any of the data, and
Mm.
it's not used to feed our models.
That's so interesting. And talk to me a little bit more about the process of being able to apply this into a business. Is it more so a situation in which you guys are coming in and using everything that they already have and restructuring it in a better way? Or are you kind of giving them the playbook, giving them the blueprints to be able to achieve that dependent on whatever business that they have?
I'll give you a real use case. So I was in
Sure.
Davos, and I met the CEO of one of the leading vaccine organizations in the world. Yep.
Sure.
The CEO said, "Hey, um, can I upload my vision and strategy for the year and ensure that my 600 staff understand the strategy and vision?" I said, "Yes." It was a
Hmm.
5-minute meeting. She said, "Thank you. I need that." And then she walked, and then she kind of left and said, "Please work with her."
Hmm.
They
Done.
signed, they closed the deal this week.
Mm.
So that use case is obviously a common pain point that every leader of every organization has. I have a strategy or vision, and I want to make sure my team understands. And I need data and evidence that they actually understand the strategy so they can
Mm.
execute it. That's a common pain point that every organization
Hmm.
has. Other use cases would be I need to onboard my people. So let me upload my annual report to make sure that my new hires understand the strategic pillars of the organization.
Hmm.
Another use case. I have a PDF of all these SOPs and compliance documents. Let me upload that and
Yeah.
turn it into something a little bit more engaging.
Hmm.
You know what? I want to train my people on Gen AI skills, but I
Mm.
don't have any materials on that. Let me just put the topic and the prompt in, and it'll automatically create an experience. So we're
Hmm.
not doing any of the work. We're literally just giving you the software, and then you put a prompt in, or you upload your video or your PDF, and it
Mm.
automatically creates it.
That's so interesting.
So,
Especially, I'll fully relate to the SOP part of things. That can be such a I'll just use the word annoying task to one fill out and do everything, but also distribute it to everyone because it can be such a tedious process to make sure it's done right. So I definitely feel you on that one. And is there anything? Obviously, I've heard so many times where everyone has heard, "Hey, everybody's always self-made, and yeah, if you have a dream, you can achieve it, and all these things." But to achieve great things, obviously, you need people along the way to help you get there. What has been the process for you to make sure that you get the right people on the team, make sure that they're on the right seats, and when they're on the right seats, make sure that they're taking the right actions to help you achieve the goals that you have for the company?
right, that's a lot of questions in one, right? I,
Yeah.
I think ultimately, I think values are really important. So when you're hiring people, for me, I look at values first, not
Mm.
skills. Are they a
Mm.
cultural fit? And are they someone who is an Obian who can fit with our culture, who will contribute, and who would be someone that we want to work with? Are they like
Hmm.
genuinely nice people, right? That you want
Yeah.
to work with, and do their values align? Once you
Hmm.
can get that part, then the skills is actually easier.
Mm.
Um, and then once you hire them because they're good at their job. So you want to give them the space and the capacity to do their jobs and
Hmm.
provide them with the support. We are 100% global and
Mm.
remote. So, we don't have many people working in the same kind of locations with people like
Yeah.
in different countries. So I think the idea is there has to be a high trust environment
Hmm.
and your work should speak for itself.
Yeah.
But we're also highly collaborative. And so, in fact, after this, I'm going to be having my global all hands meeting, which
Mm.
of course is powered by Gnowbe.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't share this use case, but we use Gnowbe for all hands because when you have people in so many different countries, how do I know that they're engaged?
Hmm.
How do I know how they feel about things? And I genuinely care for each person and I
Hmm.
want them to feel appreciated and I want their voice to be heard. But I don't have time on the all hands to ask every single person to share, but they'll
Hmm.
share in Gnowbe.
And then
So
it goes back to you
it's
very
like
fast.
here, so everyone, we
Hmm.
have a group board. No, the whole company can see it.
Yeah.
And so this is a way
Oh.
to invite people to participate because again, if you want to engage, equip, right, your people, then you want to use Gnowbe for it.
That's so
We,
so
we
interesting.
use Gnowbe for our own team engagement to help solve that
Yeah.
very problem.
Yeah. I think that's oftentimes such a good value proof for any company is like, do you use your own stuff? Yes.
We
Okay. Perfect.
use it for everything. We use it for
Uh-huh.
onboarding. We use it for recruiting. We use it for all hands. We use it for weekly team leads. We use it for sales playbooks, and we use it for all of our capability building and training.
That's so interesting. And you mentioned something in the finding the right people that I want to just touch on, which is how do you evaluate values? How do you come in and make sure that someone is actually the right fit? Because I think oftentimes people tend to be quite dishonest in interviews and things like that. So obviously, hey, do you respect people? Yes, right. So like that's the answer that I was looking for. So how
So
do you
you
evaluate for
you
that?
would never ask open-ended questions like that.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, sorry, not I mean closed-ended questions like that.
Yeah, close ended. Yeah, yes or no.
You would not ask those questions, right?
Yeah, of course.
So you give scenarios, you ask for stories. So there's different techniques
Hmm.
of how to assess someone's values, and then we have different people who will interview them to give different perspectives on the person. And sometimes
Mm.
we're wrong, right? Sometimes
Hmm.
we're wrong. So
Yeah,
I think most of the time we're right, but sometimes we're
yeah.
wrong. And, because you don't always kind of figure it out. But I think it
Hmm.
a lot of times is how you ask the questions and listening for what's not being said,
Hmm.
and
Mm.
then also giving people an opportunity. So a lot of times we give people projects to submit, and you can tell a lot about a person.
Mm.
We actually ask people to Nobify a program. So
Okay.
to Nobify a program to introduce themselves and why they would be a great fit for this role. And that's the initial screen. That's even before they get the interview.
Mm.
So when I say Nobify, it means that they have to create a Nobi program, which is multimedia. And
Hmm.
and why do we do that? Because it helps us to figure out how creative they are, their communication skills, and their critical thinking,
Hmm.
which are core skills that I want in every Nobian.
Hmm.
So by the program they create, I understand if they're also willing to learn and open to learn. And I see how they create their Nobi program. Some are super boring, some have typos, some
Sure.
some are highly creative and they use every single multimedia and they figure out the advanced feature. And then you're
Hmm.
like, okay, this person is obviously, and there's a high correlation between the quality of the Nobi program they create and how they perform on the job.
That's
Some
so
people are
interesting.
late. They don't submit on time, right?
Yeah. Huh. Interesting. It seems like you guys have many unique ways of achieving certain things for the company. I'm wondering if you have any maybe beliefs or initiatives that you think are a little bit different than usual in how most people view company building.
Um, well, I think that this whole recruiting process is quite unique.
Yeah.
I hope by sharing this, I hope other people will do it as well. Because the movie
Interesting.
software is free for people to just try, right? And then they just submit it to
Hmm.
you. And it's just a fantastic way of going beyond a resume, which I think is a waste of paper.
Hmm. Yeah, 100%. That's definitely something that's that's at least adapting now. Is like, hey, let's stop using this usual thing that we've been doing for however
That
many years. Yeah.
exactly. So I think that's one thing that's very unique. I think we also have something called the seven Nobi ways.
Hmm.
And the seven Nobi ways are almost like a creed, which reflect the culture that we want to create. And we talk about our seven Nobi ways a lot. Like one of them is do things that make you proud,
Hmm.
right? And like don't be boring, do things that make you proud. So that means a lot in terms of how we work and how we approach our work. We also have a set of core values that we really actually believe and live out. And we remind ourselves constantly what our values are, and we have
Hmm.
discussions about them. So I
Hmm.
think that those are very intentional efforts.
Yeah.
We discuss and debate issues. So, just last week, we had a leadership call, and the discussion was we need to spend more time on caring for our employees. Okay, so how do
Mm.
we do that? So I
Yeah.
think these are things that we genuinely care about.
That's so interesting. What are some of the things that maybe you wish you knew you before you started this entire journey with Novi?
Oh my gosh. I've been an entrepreneur for 15 years. This is my second company.
Hmm.
I mean, there's so many things. You just don't know like how difficult it is to build a company.
Yeah.
So I think if you work for a large company, I used to work for McKinsey, I worked for Citigroup, so I've worked for very large companies, right?
Mm.
And you have lots of resources and, you know, things, you have a plan and strategy, and you have tons of
Yeah.
resources to support you to get that done.
Mm.
You're a startup, you got to build everything yourself. There are no resources. So
Yeah.
you just have to really roll your sleeves up and be willing to just like do it, right? And that's part of going back to the type of people we look for are people, especially if they're senior or experienced,
Hmm.
are they willing to roll their sleeves up and just do things?
Mm.
Or are they directing and guiding, right? And
Hmm.
I think in startups you need a combination of people who are willing to just do things.
Along the way, did you have any? I'm assuming you have obviously quite a few mentors, but was there any piece of advice that really just stuck out to you that impacted you in a way where, like, oh, this one has a lot of credit for getting me to where I am today?
Oh, there's so many. I collect mentors.
Perfect.
Like,
Yeah.
and I
I'm
have,
adding some to my list. Yeah.
yeah, I literally collect mentors. So I have different mentors for different things.
Mm.
And before I do anything, I constantly ask for advice. So I think humility to learn is super important. I
Hmm.
don't know everything. I don't know what I don't know. And,
Hmm.
I have blind spots. So how do I kind of surround myself with people who are smarter and more experienced than I
Yeah.
am to be able to do that? So I've had so much, like along the way in journey, there's been so much great advice. I
Hmm.
think one is for everything that I plan, add 2x to that.
Mm.
It's going
In
to be
terms of
two
timing,
times
time frame.
everything. Two times
Mm.
harder, two times longer, two
Oh.
times more expensive, right? It's just going to take two times. And so that was kind of like, okay, comforting, right? Because I'm like, oh my gosh, I missed it. I didn't get there fast enough or whatever, right? And so it's
Yeah.
easy to be down on yourself, right? When
Mm.
you're doing stuff. Um, I think it's really, um, it's a journey. It's not the destination.
Mm.
So advice I've been given is just enjoy and appreciate the journey
Hmm.
and the highs and lows of a journey.
Yeah.
They'll be,
And how easy was it to take that advice as you're going through the highs and lows, as opposed to in hindsight?
it's always easy to say these things, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
out. But I think the more you live it out and the more you realize everything will be okay,
Hmm.
that we are more than our companies, we are more than the work we do, then
Hmm.
it's a bit easier. And so now
Hmm.
I take that advice and I coach other people on the same because, you know, work doesn't, work shouldn't define us.
Hmm.
It's part of us,
Yeah.
but not all of us.
Yeah. 100%. I think I heard someone say this, and I don't remember exactly who it was, but they said something along the lines of, the worst thing that could happen is we lose everything and we probably die. That's like worst case scenario. To which case, if that happens, then there's nothing to worry about anyway. So like, enjoy what's going on right now. So it's more of like, it's really like, be present in the moment. So I think that what you just said reminded me of that. And is there right now? I like asking this question, so young, because I think it gets the ceiling off people and it allows them to just think a little bit beyond what they usually would. So I'll ask it to you right now, which is, if you had a magic wand and you could just wave this wand and it could solve one thing within the business, which oftentimes there's a million things that can be solved and improved, but just one thing that would help you achieve your goals a lot faster and reach the destination, what would that one thing be?
Hmm. Great question. Like right at this moment, because it changes all the time.
Of course, yeah, right this moment, what's a challenge that you have, maybe an obstacle that you want to just get rid of with this
Okay,
magic wand?
awareness. If
Hmm.
I could let every leader and influencer know about the power of Nobi AI to transform and help them scale their impact, and if I could wave that wand and they would know about it, oh my gosh, life would be super easy.
Hmm. And what are some of the, as a follow up question to that, as I often have, which is, what are some of the things that you're doing to get that happening?
Well, I think part of it is hanging out with you.
Yes.
Just having this podcast with you. But
Yeah,
I think just speaking at Davos, going to conferences
for
like
sure.
Davos,
Hmm.
being on podcasts, teaching this.
Hmm.
I was invited as a guest speaker, for this
Mm.
university to speak. So
Yeah.
I think just and not just me, but my colleagues also speak and share. So I think really you have to be an ambassador and
Hmm.
be passionate about what you're doing and just be
Yeah.
willing to share, to write, to post, to publish about it.
Hmm.
So that's a big part of what we're doing in order to do that. And because it's about bringing other like-minded, like-hearted people to join
Yeah.
your journey.
Yeah, and I can tell that you are very passionate about this, which is something that often gives me some like nice twinkly eyes when I speak with people that actually really truly care about the stuff that they do and they love the mission that they're on. And so one, I wanted to commend you for that, and two, out of curiosity, has the word of mouth, in person, that type of I'll call it networking, has that been a big source of business for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, the majority of our growth is word of mouth.
Mm.
Yeah, people try it, they love the product, and then they share it with other
Boom,
people,
boom, boom,
right?
boom. Yeah, start scaling from there.
Yeah.
Awesome. Perfect. I have one last question for you, So Young. And it's not a question from me, it's a question from our past guests, and they had no idea who you were. And if you are familiar with Stephen Bartlett, he has a section in his podcast where he does this. And I humbly stole it because I think it's such a great, a great section. So, Stephen, thank you. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right, here it is. So, if you had to go back in time and change one single decision within the business that would, let me rephrase that. If you had to go back in time and change one single decision within the business, what would it be and how would things be different now?
Hmm. Well, many things I would change. Um, One thing about the business. I think I ultimately want to go to people. Um,
Hmm.
and I don't know if I would change it. That's why I'm pausing because sometimes you don't know until you've had the experience. Um, yeah, I need a second because I mean,
Okay. Okay.
it's really about like, like one of the things I learned in startup is that everything is good, but not
Hmm.
everything is good at the right time.
Hmm.
So like there are a million ideas. And so, I come from a strategy background. I worked for McKinsey and I did strategy and, we did like big strategic plans.
Hmm.
They're all good. The key part is knowing the sequence of what to do when with limited resources.
Hmm.
Like that's really difficult. So
Hmm.
there are many decisions. If I'd gone back, I would have changed the sequence of what I did. Not what I did, but maybe when I did.
Hmm. That makes sense. That's so interesting. One of my mentors, when I was first starting my entrepreneurial journey too, he was talking to me about the importance of sequencing. And similar thing to you, which is like, hey, oftentimes everything, all the ingredients need to be there. But let's say you're baking a cake and you put the eggs as the last thing and you mix it up and then you put the oven, like if the order is wrong,
Yeah,
everything is there, everything is necessary,
yeah.
but the sequence is is incorrect. So the outcome won't be the same. So it's so interesting. What's something that comes to mind in terms of the sequencing that you would have changed to make the results improve?
I think it's like you need to have a good top of the funnel engine before
Mm,
you hire experienced enterprise sales.
mm,
Because if you don't have enough leads coming in, then
yeah,
having experienced salespeople, they're waiting for leads, right?
yeah,
Then they
empty-handed. Yeah,
close, right? So,
sure.
for example, sequence would be you need to build top of funnel first,
Mm,
right? For example, so there are some different things, but you think you need sales, right? So then you hire sales because you think you need sales, right? But then, and you can, but then it stops after your personal networks are done.
mm,
So those are
I
not
understand.
as scalable.
Mm-hmm,
So if in order to build a scalable engine, you need to have an engine that you build, right? So,
mm-hmm,
but I talk to a lot of startups where they say in the beginning you go slow to go fast. So in the first phase, you do things manually. You go talk to all the customers and you get them one by one before you
mm-hmm,
then build a system and automate it, right?
mm-hmm.
It's a little bit like, you kind of need this to learn how to automate, right? So
Yeah.
that's why your question is a hard one because I'm not sure if I know this now going again in the future when I do it. Maybe I'll do it in a shorter amount of time.
Hmm.
Still do the manual thing first before I automate it.
Makes sense. Well, I'll take the answer. I think it gave us a lot of great insights, and I'll send an email to the last person that asked the question. I was like, hey, ask me ask a less difficult question next time. But so yeah, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you obviously having a conversation with me and sharing all those insights. Where can people go if they want to learn a little bit more about Gnowbe and yourself?
Sure. They can go to our website, Gnowbe, GNOWBE.com. Super nerdy. It stands for Grow Knowledge into Being. So Gnowbe. They can go to our website or they can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn. I think my ID is Soy Kang, SOYKANG. So happy to connect with folks anywhere.
Awesome. I'll leave everything here down below in the description. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you.